I play well when I'm aggressive and showing and loud and whatever else I need to be, and that works in my game. I think I have a bit of like a hunter's mentality. I have to hunt to try and win a point. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I just win a point, I just miss. Like, I think it's a focus thing.
Happy Monday, folks, and welcome back to Serving Up Trouble. This is the podcast about everything women's table tennis, and I'm your host, Chloe Ireland. My week in table tennis this week, I've been trying to think a little bit about my speed of movement, not necessarily like how quickly I can get from one end of the table to the other, but how quickly I can change direction, if that makes sense. How quickly can I switch from a forehand to a backhand, and what can I do to try and practice that? And it's been a lot of setting cones up on tables and, you know, trying to play a bit of Simon Says, like speed Simon Says, and doing things like that, trying to really be on the tips of my toes, pushing off, using my leg strength, trying to propel me back and forward along the table. It's been tricky. I think that I've kind of discovered that it's a different kind of exercise. In some ways, it's a more frustrating kind of exercise, and one of the things that I found really helps is actually putting resistance bands around my legs. And yes, that does slow me down when I'm trying to do the exercises, you know, in the hall, on the table, but when I take the resistance band off, I'm flying. Like, it really makes a difference to kind of have a bit of a weight or have a resistance band kind of wrapped around my legs, because you really feel it, like it hurts, but then when you take it off, like you fly like the wind, you know. It's so maybe a little tip for anybody who's kind of struggling with that kind of direction of speed change: try some resistance bands and see how you feel afterwards. But yeah, not for the faint-hearted. My thighs will never recover. My guest this week is somebody that I think a lot of us will know just from the UK circuit. She's been consistently within the top 15, top 10 in the country, both at cadet, junior, and now through into the senior women's category, and that's Rebecca Savage. So Rebecca has started an apprenticeship down at eBaTT, where she, you know, assists coaching. She started doing women's only sessions, and I think it's just a really great initiative to have a player, especially a younger female player at that level, coming in and delivering coaching sessions. I think she's a really great role model. I really like the way that she talks about table tennis. You can tell that she's like so enthusiastic about table tennis. She loves the game. She loves the competition. And I think we need more voices like that, more women's voices where it's like, I'm all about the game. I'm all about the sport. I'm all about that kind of winning mindset. So I've been chatting to Rebecca all about her new coaching position, all about playing semi-pro, training in Portugal, playing in Spain, and also some of the ideas that she has for improving the situation in the UK for women and girls. And I think she comes from a really unique and valuable perspective, because when we talk about women and girls growth, I think we often talk about grassroots, and obviously there's a place to be talking about grassroots. We have to be talking about grassroots. But I think we can't start to have that conversation if we aren't also listening to the top-ranked female players that are also struggling to find those opportunities, that they're struggling to find ways to stay in the game. Because if they don't feel like the opportunities are there for them, then what is it that our new players, our new young players coming through are working for? So I think she has a really interesting and insightful perspective on that side of the game that actually a lot of us don't get to think about, because, you know, we're not that level. So I think it was really great for her to be, you know, so honest, really frank with me, and tell me what kind of changes that she would like to see in the circuit as somebody who's a very competitive and eager player. So without further ado, here's my chat with Rebecca Savage. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Serving Up Trouble. This is the podcast about everything women's table tennis, and today my special guest is Rebecca Savage. Hi Rebecca.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well, thank you.
Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk a little bit about coaching, about playing, your career playing. I actually wanted to start off just by asking you, so I've seen on your Instagram that you've been doing a push-up challenge.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to start by asking you, what is this in aid of? How did this come about? You know, what's the challenge all about?
Yeah, it's just 100 press-ups a day. It's for cancer research, which is something that I feel like we all have close connections to. Like 1 in 2 people get it, so we all have our own stories about why that kind of thing is important. And it's just you do it every day in June, 100 press ups, and try raise money. So yeah.
I like how you said just 100 press ups. So it's like, it's easy.
Well, the thing is, like, it wasn't. It was a lot more than I thought it was. But now that I'm into like day 7, it's not that hard. Like the first 3 days were awful.
Yeah.
Everything was hurting. I was like, complete regrets. But then I got to like day 4 and 5, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm getting used to this. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you always been into like doing that kind of exercise or like strength and things? 'Cause I can barely do 1 push-up. I can do like, it really annoys me, but they call them the lady push-ups.
Yeah.
When they're like on your knees. It's like, shouldn't call them lady push-ups, but that's the one that they like in PE and stuff. But have you always been like into doing that kind of stuff?
Not really. And to be honest, like I don't think I'm doing it like the form very well now. It's more just like I'm just trying to pump out 100.
Yeah.
But it's not my kind of exercise. I do enjoy going to the gym.
Yeah.
But that's kind of more like a lazy exercise. Like you just do a few reps and then you rest and you do some more and then.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more like. Well, to be honest, that's how I'm doing this. I'm doing like 15 and then I'm stopping for 10 minutes and I'm doing another.
Right. So it's just like throughout the day trying to get 100.
Well, no, it usually gets to about 10 or 11 at night and I'm like, oh no, I need to do this. And then I'll do it in like half an hour. So yeah.
Really cool challenge though. I'll put a link
right.
in the description so people can sponsor you and send that. That's really, really cool. So kind of going off from that and talking about sport and physical activity in general, have you always been a sporty person? Was it always just table tennis or have there been other sports in your life?
No, we've always been sporty. I think we're just a sporty family. We're a ridiculously competitive family. And sport has always been the foresight of that. I remember when I was a child, me and my brother used to argue about who was doing more sports clubs in a week and things like that. So yeah, I've always done a lot of sport.
Yeah. And how did the table tennis come about then? Was table tennis in the family or was that something that was a Rebecca Savage thing?
No, it was in the family. My dad, I think, has always played a bit, and then there was like a local league and my dad played and then my brother would play and I'd come along to like the centre and there'd be like a woman who ran it and she'd give me sweets and we'd play a little bit. So,
bribes. Yeah.
Yeah. The start, yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's interesting you talk about local league. What was your experience like playing in local league? Did you start quite young?
To be honest, I never played in that local league.
Oh, fair, okay.
I would just be there.
Right, just hanging around.
Because I'd enjoy it. I'd be like, oh, yeah, we get to go because I get sweets and I get to play with the robot and I get treated nicely, like...
Yeah.
But when I actually started playing local league, I never really enjoyed it.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think it was then from, like, watching it and being part of it to playing in it? What was the kind of the...
I think it's a difficult atmosphere because... If you're, maybe it wouldn't be as bad now, but when you're like a young child, especially a young female child, if they win, like there's nothing, they don't feel good for winning. And then if they lose, they can, not everybody, but people can get unkind about it because they don't like the fact they've lost to a 12-year-old girl or they don't, whatever, or they start calling you up on your serves or something, which they might be right, but at the same time,
You're 12.
You're 12.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like for me, it was always a double-edged sword because if I lost, they're gonna be angry because it was a waste of time. But if I won, they're gonna be nasty because they're salty that.
Yeah, sore losers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's difficult. I think we had the same thing where it's when you start winning, that's when all the excuses come out. They start they blame their bat, they blame the hall, they blame the conditions or stuff like that, but it kind of like, it just creates a bit of like an uncomfortable atmosphere in a way. And it's like, it's not everybody, like I've had some great league matches, but I think I just enjoyed it more as I got older and I had the ability to banter. Whereas I think when you're a child, there's like a little bit of a mismatch in that.
Yeah, I think so. And I just, it always felt to me like I'd go and I'd be there for 4 hours and I'd play 3 matches and I'd come home and it'd be a 40-minute drive there and a 40-minute drive back. It felt like a lot for what it was.
Yeah.
And then when you were there, if you weren't having the greatest time anyway.
Yeah.
So quite early on, I always said to my dad, like, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And then do you play in like a league now?
Not at the moment. I've been thinking about playing next year because it's good practice and I need variety in my practice. So
Yeah. But you do play Women's British League.
I do, yes.
And do you play like the Senior British League as well? Or is it just women's?
I have done in the past.
Right.
And I'm thinking about next year.
Yes.
But nothing's been sorted yet.
Nothing's confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it about, like, do you enjoy, like, playing in the Women's British League? Because you're, like, you play in Prem, don't you? Yeah. How do you find that?
I love it. To be honest, I enjoy competing.
Yeah.
I know some people don't. That always baffled me. I never understood why you play if you didn't enjoy competing. But on base level, I enjoy competing. To be honest, just the vibes. Like, I don't know. It's not.
No, it's good. It is good vibes. It is good vibes. Yeah.
It's hard to describe. Like, I haven't. Some weekends go better than others. I haven't enjoyed every single. But in general, it's one of my favourite tournaments. I feel like you get to play. I mean, it's quite a nice environment being surrounded by loads of women playing table tennis.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you get the perfect amount of matches.
Yeah.
You get 10 matches in a weekend, but that also gives you enough time to go and be social and enjoy the other aspects.
Yeah, the team aspect of it gives you that time to walk around the hall, talk to people, get that, And
I mean, by this point, I know every single person in that hall. Like, there's not one person in that hall I don't know. So I get to be as social as I feel on the day. Sometimes I'm not feeling it, and sometimes like on a Sunday, but most of the time I'm feeling pretty social, and I get to go play, and then I get quite a big break, so I can go have a chat, and then I come back and focus. So it's nice.
I also want to ask you about nationals this year because I mean I think that you're one of the most exciting people to watch at nationals. I mean, I'm up in the booth usually trying to do the streaming, and I like watching your games because I always feel like you're always a contender. You could always nick it. You could always take the higher players. Like you're quite a dangerous player to come up with in the draw, I think. So I wanted to ask you first about how nationals went for you this year, but also about mixed doubles, playing with Andrew Bagley. Yeah. How did that come about as well?
I don't actually know how it originally came about because he was all I got was a message from Ellie saying I have like some really exciting news, but don't get your hopes up because it's not sorted yet.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for me to know how that started, but I do know I played a 2-star in London. It was like I think it was the Corona Cup or something.
I think I was there.
Yeah. You play like a group, and then if you win that group, you go into like a harder group, and he was in my harder group.
It's quite a hard group.
It was quite a hard group.
Yeah, so you had Andrew in your group.
So I had Andrew in my group, and obviously he walked over me. But before I played him, actually, before I knew I played him, his brother had come up to me because I'd played the other group, and I'd done quite well in the other group, and he'd already said like, "Oh, like you're looking really good, like you're playing well," which I was really surprised about because I obviously I knew them, but for them to speak to me was quite like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they'd noticed you, they'd watched you playing. Yeah, cool.
And then I played him, and obviously he beat me comfortably. But then afterwards, he said to me like, "You never stop trying," like, and I was like, to be honest, I wasn't looking at the score. Like, there was no reason in that match for me to even bother. I was just like, I'm just going to try and win every point. And then we had for me, was some brilliant rallies. I don't know what it was for him, but for me, I was like, this is the best I've ever played in my life. I don't care right now what else is happening, so yeah.
Is that something that is like part of how you play, that you try not to look at the score, you're very focused on the point there and now?
No, not really.
Okay, it was just that match that...
Yeah, I think it's more situational. Okay. Against him, there was no reason to know you're 7-0 down. It's not helpful.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't know what the score was in that match. I know it wasn't close. It was definitely like 1-3 and 3 or something, but I was like, well, I'll take that.
Yeah.
He wasn't handing points away. He's not the kind of player to give you a point in an end.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll take that. I won a point. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So,
you were just fighting for each point, basically. Yeah. See how far you could get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's really cool. So then when you go into the nationals, kind of in the singles events then, what kind of mindset do you go into those kind of competitions with? What's the goal? What's the aim?
The thing with me is I struggle more against the players just below me than I do against the players above me, because I think I kind of have that mindset when I'm playing players above me of like, would you go for it, whatever. Where the players below me, there's other factors like pressure and the battle between should I go for it or should I just try win the point, all that kind of stuff. So for whenever I play something like that, I'm like, if I get through the group, there's nothing I can't do. But those first few matches is actually the hardest for me.
Like tense, yeah. And then you've just started doing some coaching.
Yes.
At eBaTT with Ellie. So how did this kind of come about? Because I know that you've done some training with eBaTT before this came about. So how did it's like an apprenticeship that you're doing, which is really, really, I'm excited about it. Like it's a really, really cool idea, really cool scheme to kind of have you come in and deliver women's sessions as well. So yeah, talk me through how this kind of started.
Well, I'd ended my visa for Portugal, and I was contemplating life, like, should I go back? What should I do? And I saw he'd put like a post on like apprenticeship looking for, and I just was like, I was messaging, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I wanted to be back in England and I know him, so I did, and then that was that really. He was like, yeah, great, we'll have a phone call about it, we'll discuss things. We had a phone call, it went great. I went over and I visited, that went great, and then that was it really.
And what is it that you kind of do during this apprenticeship? What does that kind of entail?
On like a weekday, I take sessions. So I take like the beginner session and the intermediate session, and then I have one-to-one, so I have like individual clients, and then the Saturdays are kind of my project to work on. So I have like some one-to-ones, I have like just a general session that anyone can come to, and then I have a women's only session as well. That's something that like both me and Ellie and the coaches are quite, wanting to grow. So
yeah, it's really cool. How have you found doing those sessions? Have you enjoyed it?
It's really interesting because I think it's made me a better player.
Yeah.
And I think it's made me be more like receptacle to coaching. Like, it's made me be able to take it in easier because I have a better understanding. But it's also like I've only ever been in training sessions like my whole life type thing. But then when someone's like, "Well, run one," you're like, "Okay." It's suddenly not actually that easy.
Yeah.
But like now I've got into it and I've had quite a lot of mentoring and stuff. I love it. Like it's quite a social job. Because you're talking to people the whole time, and I'm quite a social person. So yeah.
So it kind of fits in with your personality.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, all of that. That's really, really interesting. And like, do you know like what elements of your game have kind of improved through?
I will coach someone something, and then I'll feel myself do it, and I'll be like, "Becca, you just told someone else not to do that half an hour ago." Like, come on, type thing. But no, I don't think there's like a specific part.
Thing. Yeah.
I think maybe I've got a lot more like serve and receive focus recently.
Yeah.
That's because I'll just be saying to people like, your serves are shocking, we need to do some service practice. And then I'll watch my own serve and be like, Becky, your serve is shocking.
It's like serve practice for me as well.
Yeah.
How would you describe your game? Because I'd say you've got quite an aggressive attacking style.
Yeah.
Was that always the case? Like even as a cadet junior, was that kind of what you were aiming for?
I think it's just how I play best. I'm not very good at playing well relaxed. So I've had to kind of lean into that. Like, okay, I play well when I'm aggressive and showing and loud and whatever else I need to be, and that works in my game. I think I have a bit of like a hunter's mentality. I have to hunt to try and win a point. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll just win a point. I just miss. Like, I think it's a focus thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think I am an aggressive player.
We're going to take a quick break here for our tip of the week, and our tip this week comes from Nottingham.
Hi, this is Jason Ramage from Nottingham Table Tennis Club and Nottingham Trent University. My tip for the day is twofold. Not only should you ensure you keep the ball on the table, but you should play with a smile on your face at all times. Win or lose, make sure you enjoy your table tennis. Thank you.
I will certainly try, Jason. I will try. I will attempt to play with a smile on my face. It might weird the opponent out a little bit if I'm just kind of manically smiling at them. But, maybe that could work in my favour. Maybe that's how I distract them and and win the points. But thank you. I'm really looking forward to participating in the Nottingham 4-star. Please do keep an eye on the Table Tennis England competitions page for opportunities in your area. There are more competitions being announced all the time. So if you're somebody that wants to try and get back into competing, or if you just want to have a go, have a look at some 1-star and 2-star tournaments. Maybe see if you can get a little group together. Get 3 or 4 of you together to share an Airbnb or carpool to an event. I think that's a really nice idea of trying to get groups going to events. But anyway, back to Rebecca's interview. We've got some questions, actually, that people have put in, some, as you're now coaching.
Yep.
And we thought we might be able to give some people some advice about coaching and about their games and how to improve. So we'll see how you get on with some of these. Some of them are from Instagram, some from Reddit and things like that, so all over the place. So we're going to start off. Some of these names are crazy, by the way. Some of these usernames are crazy, so I do apologise to anyone. JJ Sukas asks, how often do you go down the line as opposed to cross court on the opening loop? How important is the first open up at the highest level?
Ooh, that feels like a few questions in one.
Yeah, it does. Should we go through it individually?
Yeah, okay, fine.
So,
yeah.
this first part of that question is, how often do you go down the line as opposed to cross court? Which I think obviously it depends on who you're
Yeah, it
playing.
Depends on the reasoning. Like, if they're good at one shot, then most people are forehand dominated, so you'd obviously try and aim more backhand. But there's a few players in the England circuit the opposite, so obviously. So I wouldn't say there's like a number. It's more like there has to be a reason for it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm quite for being unreadable, but it's also like that saying, like, if you're fighting someone in boxing and you've hit them in the face and they've got a bruise, you're going to keep hitting that bruise. You're not going to, like, just randomly hit somewhere else for no reason. Like,
yeah. So once you've figured out...
Yeah, once you've got something they can't do, you're only going to change that if they're tactically aware enough to adapt. They're not adapting. Being different for no reason isn't helpful.
Yeah. And then, how important is the first open up at the highest level? So I think this is like when, so kind of off the serve, how important is it to be the first person to take the initiative, I think? Is that something that you find helpful in your game? Like when you're watching others, is that something, again, individual to the player, but how important maybe is that for you, I think is a better question.
I think for my game, it's very important. Mm-hmm. It's always kind of been like the first person to get in is going to win the rally or has that advantage to win the rally. So yeah, I'd say very important.
Very important. Take the initiative, and How have you got quite a good eye for knowing which shot to pick?
I think so. I know which one to pick.
Yeah.
Forcing yourself to do it, especially against players my own level or higher level, is quite easy because you feel like you have no choice. So then you just do it and hope for the best. When it's a player slightly lower, there's like, well, I can go now, or I can go in 5 pushes time, and you have to no, let's go now type thing.
Yeah, I guess it's like that element of risk.
Yeah.
When it's somebody who's like a little bit below you, I guess you're being more careful.
Yeah.
In a way. Maybe you shouldn't be, but in your head, maybe you're thinking that I need to be more careful.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, this one's a good name. Consistent Hippo, 2298. Fab name. Could you please tell me how to maximise spin on my side spin pendulum serve?
A lot of people when they're serving, they do the correct technique, they just don't do it with enough speed. With a serve, the faster your wrist and your arm is moving, the more spin you're creating. That's kind of how you're creating the spin. So if you're afraid of the ball and you go slow, you're never going to generate spin. So a lot of things that I get like beginner to intermediate level players is I get like a piece of paper and I make them like try and break the paper when they're doing it. So if you can hit it, if you're doing it fast enough that you're breaking the paper, then that'll be fast enough to generate a lot of spin. Right. But then obviously once they do that, then they just hit the ball and the ball goes flying. So then you have to learn to like skim the ball at that pace. And when you can do both of those things, you've got a pretty spinny set. Yeah.
I find when I'm coaching some of the kids, it's quite difficult because they've got the initial thing right and then they get frustrated because it's going off, and you have to tell them that it's fine, it's going off, you're doing the right thing. Yeah. It'll get there, it'll come. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, the amount of times I'm coaching someone and they do something and I'm like, that's perfect, and they're like, how can it be perfect? I missed. And I'm like, no, the technique is now perfect.
Yeah.
I just got you to hit the ball correctly and then you'll be sorted.
Yeah. So it's just about like knowing in your head that like, no, persist with this because this is correct, even though it's going off the table and things like that. You've got that technique down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, this is from an anonymous person on Instagram. My weakest shot is my forehand push receive to a heavy backspin serve. It never works in a match, but I find it the most boring shot to practice. Any advice on how I can make this practice more interesting and what I should focus on?
Their weakest shot is their forehand push. Off a serve.
Yes.
And it's too boring.
Too boring. Too boring to practice.
There's ways to make it interesting. Mm-hmm. I used to find service practice so boring.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like, right, I've got half an hour. I'm gonna put some music on. I'm gonna have like, I don't know, Maltesers next to me, and I'm just gonna do it. And every time I do it well, I can have a Malteser. So it can be baseline good vibes.
Uh-huh.
But if it's like forehand push, I'd personally, the way that I'd find it interesting is I'd get them to serve and I'd forehand push wherever it is you're trying to practice, and I'd just make it a competition because I'm very competitive. So if it was like, okay, if they get it on, I lose a point, and if they don't get it on, I win a point. So you play a match like that, and if I lose, some kind of punishment. It doesn't matter what, really. Again, that depends what works for you. It could be
push-ups.
Yeah, exactly. It could be physical. It could be more personal. Like you have to message on something quirky. It could be you have to buy someone a drink. It could be whatever you want. And then the opposite way around. Like give yourself a prize. I don't know. You get to go to Starbucks. Again, that has to be for you.
Yeah.
And if you do it like that and you're still not finding it interesting, you haven't made those two things big enough.
Right. I like that idea of like turn it into a competition and have there be some fun. But yeah, that kind of like
that would work though.
Yeah, probably.
If someone's telling me they're bored whilst doing that, I'd be like, what?
That's true. You could have some juicy consequences.
Yeah.
For
it's basically that game is as wild as you are.
Right. Okay. Nice.
And as wild as you're willing to be with the person you're with, obviously.
Yeah.
And then if you come back and you tell me you're bored, then you're just not very creative. Like, there's no way you're bored.
No, I love that. Okay, yeah, definitely going to be trying that in the club. Okay, I think this is my favourite question. This is another person on Instagram. My daughter has recently started playing 1-star and 2-star tournaments as a cadet. She's been enjoying the experience, but has noticed a lot of players with short pimps on their forehand and finds this frustrating to play. Can you help a non-TT dad out? What are short pimps for, and what can my daughter do to play against them? Nice going, TT dad. So, I mean, two parts to that question again. So could you kind of explain for this guy what are short pimps in general, like real basic? What are they? What do they kind of do to the ball? Yeah.
I mean, before we start, I want to say I feel the pain. Yeah. I feel the pain of that girl. Like, we've all been there. Short pimps, like, take away the spin. And yeah, so that's what they kind of do, very, very baseline level understanding. So if I give a heavy topspin, they can just punch straight through it, and there's no spin on the ball, which means that when it bounces on your side, it's not going to kick. So that's why it feels like it's coming a lot slower.
Yeah.
Because it's not doing the kick with the spin, because there is no spin now type thing. I'm not sure how easy that is to understand unless you understand.
No, but I mean, his daughter won't understand that.
Yeah, okay, fine. But the reason why it's quite difficult, unless you have a lot of practice against it, to time is they can hit through it quite fast, but then it doesn't kick. So your timing can be off twice. It can be off once because you're like, they're hitting it a lot faster than normal people. Not normal, sorry, like regular rubbers.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that worry, because the ball isn't doing an arc, it's going straight. So they're hitting, and most short pimple people go quite slappy, so they hit quite fast, especially females.
Yeah,
so
off the bounce very quick.
Yeah, off the bounce very quick, so it's coming at you very fast, but then it's not kicking at you. So you're like, whoa, like, so you're like, you wanna take a step back because it's coming at you fast, but now you're 2 steps further back than you should have been in the first place because you should have taken a step forward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's 2 parts. You can practice someone just hitting it really fast at you, so you get used to that fast play. And then, I don't really know how you'd practice short pimps without playing against short pimps.
Yeah, you need to find a coach or another player to maybe have a knock with just to get the feeling of playing against short pimps, I guess. It's quite difficult to... Yeah, or maybe... Yeah, something that would neutralise the spin. I mean, the ideal might be somebody, if you've got a coach that can twiddle, that can give you one with rubber and one with pips, so you can see the difference, I guess.
The thing, that message kind of said that Dad doesn't play TT, but what I would have done is I would have just got one of my family members to have short pimps on a bat and multi-ball feed it. Then there's going to be no spin on it, but they can hit it as hard as they need to for the practice.
Right, okay.
That would work quite well.
So Dad can help.
Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody give Dad a pimple rubber.
Yeah, it depends how non-TT dad the dad is. I don't know. But there's ways around it.
Yeah, it's just practice, basically. You've just got to find somebody to help you with, getting used to those kind of rubbers. But yeah, I feel the pain as well. It's
also, like, if you're at a tournament and you're playing a 1-star or a 2-star and she keeps playing against these peoples, just get that person to make friends with those people.
Yeah.
Like, go make friends with them, play with them for the next hour, and we'll make a play date, and Yeah,
no, that's a good shout as well. Yeah. Players helping players. But they might be like, oh no, but then she can beat me now.
Be subtle about it.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to knock?
Yeah, don't mention the pimps. Just be like, friend. Yeah. Red Stripe 748 asks, my rallies are very short due to errors. When I loop, I can only return 1 or 2. I can do 10 or more in a practice. What should I do? So I guess this is like the disparity between being able to drill and practice well and then getting that onto the table. I think quite a few players struggle with that a little bit.
I mean, I think there's a few reasons for that. But I think the first thing to address is the fact that happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Like when you watch the Chinese play, they'll be doing 400 shot rallies and then they come to a match and they're doing 4 shot rallies.
Yeah.
So if you're I always think it's a 10% of what you can do in practice. So if you can do a 30 shot rally, you can probably do a 3 shot rally in an actual match. So if you want to get more consistent in a match, try to do a 60 shot rally.
In practice.
Yeah, the more consistent you get in practice, it will make you more consistent in a match. It's just, if you're stood there thinking, well, I've just done 60 shots in a rally, why aren't I doing that in a match? It's not being realistic to the...
Yeah.
And then the other one is a lot of people train very regular. If you're doing 60 shots in a row because it's come to your forehand, well, fine, but that's never going to happen. That's not the point of a match. So try and be irregularly, get them to block anywhere on the table, bringing it short, bringing it long, giving you weird shots, all that kind of stuff. And tell me how many balls you got on the table then.
Yeah, so mixing it up.
Yeah.
What's your... I mean, you say you like the competition, so you like the more match style. What's your favourite kind of practice, basically? Do you like drills or do you enjoy the...
I would just make everything competitive.
Yeah. I guess it also it helps you with that mindset of being under stress as well, because there's a consequence, and I think that translates into matches better than doing drills, because usually if you're doing a normal drill without a game aspect, without any consequences, you don't get that pressure.
Yeah.
And then when you're in a match and it's 10-all of a sudden you've got this extra psychological thing on top of you that you're not used to training with.
Yeah.
Whereas if you train with, there's a consequence, on the table, or there's like something that, you know, there's a bowl of sweets or something, then no matter how small that is, that's still adding the bit of that psychological pressure onto you that you wouldn't normally get in a in like a training session. Right, there's one from eBaTT.
Oh, hello. I'm gonna be able to tell who wrote this immediately.
Are you?
On, well, I don't know what it says yet. But
Okay, ready. Okay, it's quite long.
Okay, that's already telling. I automatically think I know who it is.
You know who it is already.
Long,
okay.
Yeah.
Some of us struggle with a technique for certain strokes, such as backhand or a particular serve, etc. Rebecca will testify to this, but she's found a way to develop her shots. So my question is, if we really struggle with, say, backhand open up, how do we find a way to develop it? Is there a certain technique, a certain method, a coaching tip, perseverance? What's the formula? And there's a lot of question marks after that.
Can you ask it again? I'm gonna have to log it. It was long. I'm gonna have to log it in.
Yeah, it's long. Do you think you know who it is?
I know who it is.
You know who it is?
Yeah, I know who it is.
I think so. I'll just go from the second half, the question bit. So my question is, if we really struggle with, say, backhand open up, how do we find a way to develop it? Is there a certain technique, a certain method, a coaching tip? So I guess it's like, how have you improved your shots over time? Is there something that works for you in terms of, you know, going from good to
I
great?
think a lot of it depends on what it is you're struggling with. Mm-hmm. So if it's technique based, you just need a coach to teach you that. Mm-hmm. Or you need to watch a good player do it and then watch yourself and keep going until you're there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it depends how much access to good coaches you have.
Yeah.
If it's, I can do this shot amazingly in practice and I can't do it in matches, then you need the stress level.
Yeah.
And if it's something in between, so for me, it's more like, what's the problem and what's the solution?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, when they practice, are like, I'm struggling with this shot, I'm going to do 700 of these shots.
Yeah.
With nothing else going on. Mm-hmm. Now, I do agree that you need to do millions and millions of that shot to get it good, but you need to do it with some level of understanding of why is this helping you?
Yeah, why is it going off? Why is it going in the net? Like, what is the actual, like, with intent, I guess, like training with intent.
And I think that's one of those things where it comes with age, but it also comes with a particular kind of practice where now, if a player comes to me and they're like, Becca, I'm struggling, the first question I ask them is why? Right. Why is that going? And then most people don't know. That's the crazy thing, though. They don't know the answer to why. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, how are you going to improve if you don't know why?
Yeah. I mean, when you're just saying that you were in Portugal. Was that table tennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was table tennis. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Sure.
Because, I mean, you've also been, you know, I was asking before about where in the rankings you've been. You've been quite consistently in the top 15, you know, as a cadet, a junior, and in the under 21s and, you know, going into senior women and all of that. So you train and you play at a really high level. So can you talk a little bit about experiences playing abroad? What's that like? And I don't know, were you pathway?
Not very long.
No, okay.
For me, when I was leaving Ackworth, it felt like there was nothing there. I wasn't ready to stop playing table tennis. Like I felt like I'd only really got started. You know, I'm 16. There's nothing stopping me from doing whatever I want for the next 10 years, and then I can get a normal job if I need to. Yeah. Like for me, life is quite. I don't like following this path. Like you have to do this and then go to uni, then get a job, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more like, well, I'll just do whatever I want until I get to a point where I need the money because I want kids as much.
Yeah.
But right now I have no attachments.
Yeah.
So I wasn't ready to stop playing, and there was nothing else on offer.
Right.
From where I was stood, because statistically, if you go to uni, you've got like a 99% chance of quitting. Mm. There are some players that manage it.
I guess, like, I mean, the ones that go to a uni that's got a heavy table tennis.
Yeah, but even statistically, the amount of players that keep at the level they were but when they went isn't very high, even at the best unis.
Yeah.
It's just, if you have 50 people going and 5 of them are performing really well, it looks great.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that 45 people also quit.
Yeah.
Type thing. And I'm not blaming the uni for that.
Yeah.
I get it. If I went to a uni and I had all the other distractions of uni life and I was trying to do a course that I cared about.
I don't know how some people do it. I really
I think
don't.
you have to have a very specific kind of characteristic, a very like admirable type of person to do that. And I don't think I could do it. I'd get distracted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not very like, there was nothing that was interesting me.
Yeah.
From a intellectual point of view, there was no kind of jobs I was really invested in.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I want to carry on playing table tennis. What are the options?
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't see any other option than going abroad.
Right.
So I went.
So you went?
Yeah, there was no other option.
Why Portugal? Was there a particular reason why you gravitated there?
There was a few reasons. Ellie had suggested that place was good because he'd given me a couple of and he said that one was great for just kind of everything. It was overall good, but one of the really good ones is it has a lot of women, a lot of high level women players there, and obviously that's great exposure and great practice and everything.
Yeah. How did you think that? I mean, through that experience, what did you feel you got from that? From being in Portugal, from playing with those women?
I think I got a lot of things, but I think one of the things I got was I think two main things. The first one is I actually genuinely thought, you know what, it's far away, but it's not unreachable. I'm in the same training hall that Olympic players are in, these women that have done that and are at that level.
Yeah.
I'm watching them train.
Yeah.
And they're good players, obviously, but they're not. It's not unattainable.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was I'd be training and I'd do the best rally of my whole life. Mm-hmm. Let's say 400 loop to loop, something like that.
Yeah,
I'd go 30 on the road, be awesome.
Yeah.
And then I'd look to my left and I'd be like, but it's not that though, is it? It's not. It's good, but it's yeah. It was very humbling. Because you'd play incredible table tennis.
Yeah.
And you'd still feel like the lower end of the hall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what you want, obviously. You want that.
You want to be playing the better players, don't you, to be able to improve?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, you're back now, you're playing.
I am back now, yes.
You're back now, you're playing, you're training. I mean, do you think more international competitions and things are on the horizon? Is that the aim? To kind of play pro or semi-pro, abroad?
Well, look, I mean, technically, I played semi-pro when I was in Portugal.
Yeah.
Because I was playing for a team in Spain and I was getting paid. So I was, technically, that is...
Yeah, what you were...
But I'm not sure because the thing with playing semi-pro is I am being paid now. Mm-hmm. And I am, I'm living and I'm fine type thing. So I don't know why I can't really see a lot of reason to branch out for that reason.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I want to branch out to improve my table tennis, but I think that's back on...
The back burner.
No, it's more that's just the more important thing for me now is this actually improving my table tennis.
Yeah. So it's more about the experiences and the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't need it for any other reason now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. How do you find playing... I mean, we were talking about Corona Cup before. How do you find playing in mixed tournaments versus women's tournaments? Or is it literally the same to you? What are your kind of feelings around it?
I wish we had ranking points for it.
Yeah.
Because it really winds me up because I do well in mixed tournaments. I mean, I do well in women tournaments, to be fair, but it's so difficult for me to get above the ranking I am now.
Yeah.
Because the top 10 women in England, you play 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Maximum. Individually, maximum 3 times a year. They don't play anything domestically, and I'm not berating them for that. I'm not saying it's their fault, but for one reason or another, how am I meant to win ranking points?
Yeah.
If I can't play you.
It's you're in a tricky position in the rankings, really, because you are highly ranked, but you're right, it's hard to kind of grow from that point because the other players above you are kind of either playing internationally or playing
Well, then that's
elsewhere.
the other thing is, it's very difficult for me to win points, really. Mm-hmm. But then the players above me are like going abroad and getting points for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
So they're getting more points, and then that becomes a bit even more unattainable for you because they're further.
And then, like, if I play a tournament domestically, a women's tournament domestically, unless there's 16 people at the tournament, I don't get any ranking points, even if I win the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if I lose one match, I've probably got a max loss.
Yeah.
So even if I played a round robin of 9, and I did. I mean, let's say I wasn't happy because I didn't win every match. But I still did all right. I won 7 out of 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd still be a max loss. Easily, probably.
Does that stop you from applying
Massively
to
stop
stuff?
me.
Yeah.
It's completely stopped me playing because it's not... I would go if I could win points because I don't believe you should play out of fear, not play through fear.
Yeah.
So if I was able to win any points at all, I would go. Mm-hmm. If I can't win any points at all,
it becomes.
And I can get max losses. Then again, like that, the reason to compared to the reason not to is just too big.
Yeah. I mean, and you've got too many ranking points for because if I play in a mixed tournament, as long as the man that I'm playing is also below a certain level, the ranking points still work. But
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But if you're above a certain, if either player is above a certain amount, then it becomes null. So that's kind of the issue. So I can still get ranking points for playing in a 1-star if I'm the only woman.
Okay.
But then if it's over a certain amount, but then that becomes what everything you're saying makes a lot of sense, and it might explain a little bit why we don't see some of the higher ranked girls taking part in tournaments.
I think that's massively the reason why. Mm-hmm. Because, like, why would you? Why would you pay money to go, get a hotel potentially, go play, no potential to win ranking points, you don't know you're going to get any good matches, you might be ill, you might not have a good weekend.
Yeah.
There's no positive. And if you win it, you get no recognition.
Yeah.
It's not like, if you win so many 2-stars a year, here's a prize. Like, here's a reason why you do that.
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, well, of course you did. Kind of attitude.
Yeah.
So like, what?
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
I mean, would kind of adding something into that system, I'm just thinking out loud basically here, but if kind of doing a certain amount of these tournaments, if there was an incentive to do a number, like if you did do so many 2-stars or something, there was access to something, or I don't know, an opportunity.
I mean, it would help obviously, because I think in general you should always encourage play, and every system that you build should encourage play, and then I would give more ranking points. I would reward more
for participating in.
Yeah, because systems built on reward will encourage play, and we're a country that complains there's no playing constantly. My entire life it's been like, nobody plays in England.
Yeah. And then especially girls. It's like, there's no girls playing.
Why is there no girls in England?
Yeah.
Because you punish play every step of the way. You punish...
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's good for when you're starting out and you're just coming through, and then there's now some, female-only tournaments, but that doesn't benefit the players like you.
No, but I don't even understand how it benefits them. If you're a 12-year-old going into a women-only tournament, and everyone my level wanted to play because I was rewarded for playing, then they'd go and there'd be 50 people there, and they'd have,
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like, and it increases the standard in general of the tournaments that we have in the country if we're able to bring in players like you and players that are higher ranked. And it gives people a goal and an aspiration as well. Yeah. I think, like, when you get to the final should be a good match. Yeah. I always think of like these tournaments, like even if it's a 1-star, 2-star, you want to be excited. You want people almost staying behind to watch the final. Yeah. And I think if we have those...
But the only way to make an exciting final is to have a reward on the win.
Yeah.
That's like, why would someone care if they're going to win if there's literally nothing on it at all?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then... Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, I must admit. Well,
because I feel like most people who are my level of play must enjoy playing table tennis.
Yeah.
You've either enjoyed playing table tennis or are in a family that plays table tennis. There's no other way you've got this far.
Yeah.
So if you genuinely enjoy playing table tennis, there's a reason you're not playing. It's not like, oh, I'm not playing because I'm lazy, because you enjoy it. So.
Yeah, it's that there's actively something that's preventing you from signing up to these tournaments and things like that. No, that's really interesting. So what I wanted to ask was, are there any players on the international circuit that you like watching that are exciting you at the moment? Are you someone that watches a lot of table tennis as well as play it?
Yeah, I kind of watch it on background.
Yeah. No, me too.
Yeah, so it's like it's there. So so then sometimes I'll just turn around and be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Because especially if something's like 2-0, someone's getting destroyed, you're like, all right, fine then.
But yeah, when it's like an interesting one, you're like, oh.
I feel like Bernadette Schatz is a player that's always like interested me. I think like she beat Chung Mung, the first European to ever beat her. I remember watching that. I was like, whoa. And then she beat her again, and now her and
Sophia.
Won the doubles.
They got silver. But they were the first Europeans to get to the final. I think since like the 70s or something. Yeah, so like insane. Yeah, really exciting.
I love it when Europeans make noise.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't make a lot of noise in the women's. In the men's, Europeans make noise, fair play.
Yeah.
But in the women's, like if you look at the two ranking lists, the women's top 10 ranking list in the world is not European.
It's very Asian dominated. I think more so on the women's side than it is now.
Yeah, whether the men's...
It's starting to change.
It's starting to look interesting to watch as a European.
Yeah.
Because the only way I find table tennis interesting, if it's like two Chinese players, is I just go, right, you're winning. And then I'm like, you will win. And then...
So you try and like pick a side. And, I mean, I always find the Chinese matches really impressive to watch, but like I think like when there's not stakes behind it for, I think as a spectator, it's tricky, isn't it? When you haven't got somebody you don't feel like you're rooting for somebody.
I think I just enjoy competition. Like when even when we watch like nationals and stuff, me and like a family member will pick someone we want to win. Not because we care, just because it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's interesting that you bring those up in the worlds, because I think we are slowly starting to see that change. I think more in doubles than in the singles, for sure. I think that Europeans and, non-Asian competitors have always had more of a presence in the doubles and in the mix, just because of those combinations than they have in... And I also don't think that maybe this is like the generalisation, but I don't feel like it's as much of a priority for the Asian teams in doubles as it is to, we know that we can make a bit of noise in those events, but it would be nice to see something a bit like, with Truls happening in the women's event and things like that. I think there are chances. I think the more exposure some of these players get, the more funding to try and help them get up there, and we could have some more exciting matches, I think, on the horizon. Do you watch any of the like leagues and things, even if it's just in the background?
Not really.
No.
I've heard about it and I've seen stuff, and it's like it depends. For me, it's more what's on when I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm not really emotionally invested in anything at the moment. It's more like if it's on and I'm free, then I watch it.
What helps you get emotionally invested in table tennis? Just as like this is kind of something that I'm trying to figure out in terms of trying to get people interested, trying to get people invested. Is it when you know the player? Is it like that you know some more about the journey of the person? Or is it more about their style of play? Like, what would make you like excited about watching a match?
About watching it?
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more... I think that's why the leagues are starting to do well, is it needs to be more like you're rooting... There's a reason why you're rooting. Like if you're watching football, you're supporting a team because that's like your team, that's where you're from or whatever. It's like in table tennis, it should be like you want this player to win because they're your grassroots or they're your player. Like it should be more... even though it's a single sport, it should be more team orientated. Yeah,
so you've got something to get behind.
Yeah.
That's all of our time up. I think that's went well. It's really nice. Thanks for chatting with me and taking part in it. Yeah. And we'll be back next week.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's all we've got time for today. But before we go, I'm going to do our champion of the week. And our champion of the week is a player who was recently at the WTT feeder event in Manchester, the latest one. And her name is Dina Meshref. So she's an Egyptian table tennis player, and she has had so much success over her career. So she's actually the second Egyptian player that we've talked about on this show, the first being Hannah Goda. So Dina won her first African Cup title in 2011 before claiming 7 consecutive titles between 2014 and 2020. That is crazy successful. She won her latest African title in September 2022, and she climbed 21 spots in the table tennis world ranking after that event. She's a gold medalist in women's singles at the 2018 Mediterranean Games, and she's also competed in the 2012 Summer Olympics, the 2016 Olympics, and the 2020 Olympics. So a really, really fascinating and strong player. She's currently playing in the Indian League UTT. So if you want to see some clips of her playing, have a look at their Instagram. She's really impressive and just a lovely personality as well. When I was behind the scenes at the feeder event in Manchester, I was talking to some of the guys who were managing that area, and they were telling me how lovely she was and how generous she was, and, always smiling at them, always saying hi to them. So just a really, really great role model and a just fantastic player. And that's it for this week. If you've been enjoying Serving Up Trouble, please remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify and share the word. It really helps us to keep this podcast going. And let me know who you would like to hear on the podcast next. See you next week. Bye.